language of exchange. So what do they mean by writing that word?
Agree to some.
No.
Change the
Exchange
way
of
of
Change
status.
change the
Exchanging
opinion or debate.
thinking.
Yeah, so this type of exchange, so thoughts, conversations, points of view. Yeah, so that's what they mean by type of exchange. Okay. So there were some excellent phrases there that you could use when you agree with someone's point of view. That's a good point. She or he is right. I think Jasu has the right idea. Are there any other expressions you could use to agree with someone?
Can I believe so. I believe so. You are right.
I believe you're right.
Right.
This is why, or because.
I accepted your idea.
I'm sorry?
I accepted your idea.
I accept your idea.
Uh,
Good. This is why.
I'm strongly agree with you.
I strongly agree with you. Very good. I totally agree with you.
Agree.
Okay.
I'm in agreement.
I am in agreement with you. Okay, good.
There is something, it's like this, if I'm not mistaken. You put your finger on a great topic, or yes, I heard. Sometimes you're talking about a specific topic, and the other one is going to say, this topic is a great topic. I mean, you put your finger on a great topic or on a good point. Have you heard something like that?
I haven't heard put your finger on this topic.
Okay.
You could say you've made a good point, or another colloquial term, you've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
That's kind of around the same idea when you're agreeing with someone.
Maybe a turning point of some idea.
The turning point of an
Turning
idea.
point, maybe.
So what about for disagreeing? Some of the expressions they have are, I'm afraid I don't agree. I'm sorry, but I have to disagree. So at no time during those expressions do they say, well, you're wrong.
Yeah.
This isn't the way it's supposed to be. We don't say that, right? So what are some other expressions you can use if you don't disagree with someone, if you disagree with someone's point of view?
I think, unfortunately, my idea is different
Yeah.
from.
Okay, unfortunately, my idea is different from yours, okay?
What unfortunate.
Well, you don't have to say unfortunately.
Yeah.
Feels sad.
That's my
Because
idea.
you are nice. Because you are being nice.
Because you're trying to be nice.
That's not
nice
unfortunate,
and
but it's
disagree.
great. I have a different idea.
Okay, I have a different idea about this topic. What other expressions could you say if you disagree?
I have more beautiful idea.
I have a more beautiful idea. Makes it sound very flowery.
Yeah.
So these are all really good expressions and good ideas.
Or like Martin Luther, I have a dream.
I'm sorry?
I'm like Martin Luther, like I have a dream.
Okay, so far we have support your opinion, which is a new discussion strategy, asking for more information, agreeing and disagreeing politely. So does anyone have any questions about these three so far? Good. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on a little bit to a listening strategy. And I want you to think about this question for a moment. So experts estimate that students learn up to 1,000 new words per year from reading and lectures. So every year, you learn up to 1,000 new words from the lectures you watch and here. Okay? How can a student prepare for receiving new words during lectures? So when you listen to a lecture and you hear a new word or a new definition that comes on, how do you know that a new word is coming? I'm asking your opinion. So how do you know that a new word in a lecture is coming?
Could you please explain it more?
Okay, so let's say in a lecture, the professor says, last week, I went bungee jumping. By bungee jumping, I mean, so how do you know that this new word, bungee jumping, you've never heard it before, how do you know that it's coming in the lecture? Great.
You will try to explain.
Yes. So the professor had words that was leading up to the new word. So he's getting ready to explain what he meant by that word. And when they're getting ready to explain, or there's a phrase or a sentence that leads up to that new word, that is lecture language, which we've been studying all through this course, right? So the lecture language we're going to be learning today is recognizing language that signals a definition. So you're going to learn to recognize language before a new word comes in the lecture. Okay? So could everyone turn to page 43, please?
After the new word, there is a description.
Mostly. So whenever you have a new word,
Before
most
or
of the
after?
time there'll be a definition after the new word. So you'll have the word, the lecture language, and then the definition. So page 43, please. So listening strategy, recognize lecture language that signals a definition. Could I have a volunteer read that part, please? Thank you.
Professors often use new words as they explain new information or ideas. They also use a variety of expressions to present the definitions for those words. Listen for the words and the expressions that professors use to signal a definition. Expression that signals a definition. That is, in other words, X means by X I mean X means what I mean by the X is. Another common signal for the definition in the rhetorical questions. Rhetorical questions are given for the purpose of the preparing the listeners for the answer. They are not questions that the professor wants the student to answer. What do I mean by X? Well, I mean, what is X? X is.
Okay, by putting X there, they're just, X takes the place of anything, right? Topic, whatever they're talking about, okay? So that's why the X is there. So, they mentioned rhetorical question, or questions. What do you think a rhetorical question is?
It's rhetorical, the R is not rhetorical.
What we say they are, rhetorical.
Rhetorical, and the H is not.
Yeah. So what do you think they mean by rhetorical?
This is a question which doesn't need answer.
Perfect, yes. So it's a question that doesn't need an answer. So sometimes the professor will say a question like, what do I mean by bungee jumping? Well, I mean bungee jumping is this, this, and this. So the professor will answer his or her own question. They don't expect the class to answer it. So oftentimes professors will use rhetorical questions to signal a definition. They'll also use phrases like that is, in other words, what I mean by, bungee jumping is. Okay, so you can often listen to those signals in a lecture or when you're reading something, and you'll know that a new word and a definition is about to come. Okay? So are there any other expressions that you could listen for in a lecture that would tell you a new word is coming or a definition?
That is to say.
Okay, that is to say. Anything else?
Is this used for explaining more information or giving more information or just the definition?
It's a listening strategy. So it's a way for you to be prepared that when a new word is coming or a definition is coming, you'll know before the professor actually says it.
During the presentation or something there is in general, they ask and then answer themselves.
That would be the rhetorical question, yes.
Yeah. From presentation in class. You can do this in the class.
Add a rhetorical question to your presentation?
No, you can do this in the class. Like you can ask and then answer.
Yes, you can. And oftentimes, professors will do that during teaching and lectures.
Yeah.
Any other expressions that you would hear that would prepare you for a definition or a new word?
By saying that, I remember.
Yeah, by saying this, I meant,
I mentioned that.
I mentioned that. Yeah. Okay, good. All right, so we're going to do a little activity to put this listening strategy into practice. Okay? So if you look at activity J, we have a little excerpt, so a few paragraphs from a longer lecture. And what I would like you to do is underline the lecture language, okay, and the word and definition, okay? So you're going to look for the lecture language that we just did in this yellow square. That is, in other words, by this I mean. So you're going to underline that, underline the word that goes with it, and the definition for that word. Okay? And you can do this activity with a partner, please. So I will give you 5 minutes. Any questions about this activity before we do this?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, 5 minutes.
And just signals the definition and the definition these kinds of that is things that are not consideration this is the signals and the definition. Sorry, this is the signal. And then this is the
They use their time to you got me? Understand? You were dreaming about somebody.
the people usually this is the definition. It releases a signal because it is going